Imagine a place where time slows down and the gentle lapping of water soothes your soul. Today, we're diving into the enchanting tale of the Sleepy Lake. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Light a candle or two if you'd like. Make yourself a cup of tea. Or maybe just close your eyes and listen. If you want to watch the story, feel free to do so. But don't worry if you fall asleep. I won't be offended. I know how relaxing these videos can be. In a quiet valley cradled by misty mountains, there was a lake so still, even the wind paused before crossing it. The air above the lake shimmered with heat during the day, blurring the outlines of the surrounding hills until they melted into hazy mist. But as the sun began its nightly descent, the lake would come alive with dancing fireflies, their tiny lights twinkling in harmony with the falling stars. No one remembered when the lake first appeared. It was simply always there, shimmering like glass under the moonlight, its waters whispering secrets only the stars could understand. The trees surrounding the lake were as old as time, their roots intertwining beneath the surface, drinking deep from the lake's cool depths. Their branches, gnarled and wise, formed a protective canopy overhead, sheltering the lake from the harsh winds that sometimes swept through the valley. Beneath this leafy dome, the world seemed to stand still, inviting weary travelers and curious dreamers to pause, breathe, and lose themselves in the tranquility of the moment. Among those who sought solace by the lake was an old man named Eli. His hair was as white as the clouds that sailed across the endless blue above, and his eyes held the gentle sadness of one who had seen much of life but remained unbowed by its storms. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Eli would row a small wooden boat to the center of the lake. The boat was as weathered and timeless as the lake itself, its planks smoothed by countless days on the water, its oars whispering songs of old as they dipped into the placid waters. Eli's routine was simple. He would glide onto the lake, his movements as graceful and fluid as the swans that occasionally graced its surface. Then he would sit in the stillness, letting the silence of the lake envelop it, becoming one with the soft lapping of the waves against the boat and the distant call of a lone night bird. With him, he carried only a lantern, a journal, and his thoughts. For most men, solitude would have been a heavy burden. But for Eli, it was a cherished companion. He found solace in the company of his own thoughts, discovering new depths within himself with each passing day. His thoughts were his constant companions, and with them, he explored the vast landscapes of his mind, revisiting memories, nurturing dreams, and confronting fears that had long been buried. There were times when the shadows in his mind grew long and threatening, stretching towards him like grasping claws, trying to pull him down into the darkness. But Eli never faltered. He faced his inner demons with a calmness born of years spent on the still waters of the lake. Slowly, patiently, he untangled the knots of his troubled past, finding freedom and peace in the process. To those who knew him, Eli was a man of few words, and even fewer spoke of the depth and wisdom that lay behind his gentle eyes. He was known to the villagers as a man who walked with the moon, for he often seemed lost in thought, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, as if searching for something beyond the reach of ordinary sight. Some whispered that Eli was touched by magic, that he possessed an otherworldly calm that defied the troubles of the human world. They could understand how he found such peace when all around them the world was filled with strife and uncertainty. But Eli knew that his tranquility was not a product of magic, but of simplicity, of living a life unburdened by the complexities and cravings that tormented others. He understood that true peace did not lie in the absence of problems, but in the strength of one's character to face them. And so he continued his daily ritual, seeking solace and strength in the boundless expanse of the still lake. One evening, however, Eli had something different with him. It was a single paper boat, carefully folded and balanced on his knee. He had made it that afternoon, watching the movements of the dragonflies skimming over the lake's surface, their wings acting as impromptu compasses, guiding them ever onwards. When he reached the center of the lake, he set the boat adrift On it was a message written not to anyone in particular, but to the night itself. It read, "Tonight, I rest without worry. Tonight, I float like this, boat-light, quiet, and free." The lantern flickered on the rippling surface of the lake, mirroring the dance of emotions within Eli. The wind stirred, rustling the leaves of the ancient trees that stood guard along the shore, as if sharing in the old man's quiet communion with the night. The still lake, usually so receptive to the whispers of the wind, remained placid, holding its breath, it seemed, as if listening intently to the message carried by the tiny paper boat. As the boat drifted farther away, the message became a mere speck on the horizon. Yet its words echoed in the stillness of the night, resonating deep within the soul of the old man and those who watched. Suddenly, the placid surface of the lake responded. A single ripple, barely perceptible at first, spread outwards from where the paper boat had floated, growing ever so slightly larger until it encompassed the entire lake. Then, as if satisfied, the lake fell still once more, returning to its usual tranquil state. The ripple had carried the boat slowly out of sight, and with it, Eli's worries and cares. As Eli looked out over the lake, his heart swelled with a deep sense of calm. He realized that the lake hadn't just accepted his words, it had embraced them, transforming them into a tangible part of its being. In that moment, he understood that his connection to the lake went beyond the physical. It was a bond of spirit, a communion of souls. He dipped his oars into the water and turned back towards the shore, his movements languid and graceful. As he approached the bank, he rose from the boat, his joints protesting slightly at the effort of standing. Yet there was a lightness in his step, a spring in his gait that belied his years. That night, as the embers of the campfire died down and the shadows grew long and still, Eli sat by the fading light, lost in thought. His journal lay open on his lap, but his gaze was fixed on the dancing flames before him. The events of the evening had stirred something deep within him, awakening memories that had slumbered for a long time. With trembling hands, he reached for his journal, the worn leather cover smooth and familiar under his touch. Opening it, he was greeted by faded ink, the remnants of thoughts and feelings captured in moments gone by. As he delved deeper into the journal, he found entries from days long past, each page a portal to a specific moment in time. There were records of his daily musings, observations about nature, and snippets of wisdom he had gleaned from life's winding path. One entry in particular caught his eye, drawing him into its depths like a moth to a flickering flame. The words swam before his eyes, and he struggled to decipher the faded script. But as he leaned closer, the words sharpened, and he found himself reading his own words from many years ago. The words poured out onto the page, expressing a longing for peace, a yearning for a tranquility that seemed just out of reach. Reading these words, Eli felt a rush of emotions. There was a tinge of sadness, yes, but also a profound sense of recognition. He saw how far he had come, the battles he had fought, and the victories he had won, not in the grand arenas of the world, but in the quiet chambers of his own heart. He closed the journal, a wide smile gracing his lips. In that moment, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him to this point. The wrinkles on his face deepened with a smile, and his eyes twinkled with newfound light. He had lived a full life, a life rich in experiences, both bitter and sweet, and he wouldn't trade a single moment of it. As the last embers of the fire faded into glowing coals, Eli stood up, his joints creaking in unison with the settling night. He looked up at the star-studded sky, feeling a sense of oneness with a universe that defied definition. He was part of this vast tapestry of existence, and he had found his place in it. And so, with a heart full of contentment and a spirit soaring with freedom, Eli turned towards his home, ready to face whatever tomorrow might bring. But for now, he was content to lose himself in the quiet beauty of the night. For tonight, he rested without worry. Tonight, he floated like this boat light, quiet and free. Thank you for listening to the story. If you enjoyed this short tale, I invite you to subscribe for more calming stories. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you find most calming about the story? Feel free to share in the comments. And if you're looking for more relaxing content, please check out our other videos. Wishing you a serene night. May your dreams be filled with peace and tranquility. Want to stay in the loop with all the latest? Just give that like button a little tap. Share the love, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell icon. You won't want to miss what's coming next.